So let's talk about Teyana Taylor filing for divorce from Iman Shumpert, whatever that nigga's name is. The news was exclusively leaked on TMZ a few days ago. I'm just going to read from the article. Teyana Taylor secretly filed to divorce Iman. He's a jealous narcissist. Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert are getting divorced. She secretly moved to end their marriage nearly a year ago and claims he's been a jealous narcissist during their 7-year marriage. According to new legal docs obtained by TMZ, Teyana filed to divorce the former NBA star way back in January, more than 8 months before they announced a separation. In the docs, Teyana details the demise of their marriage, accusing Iman of being jealous about her fame and feeling insecure about being good enough for her, despite the fact he was earning way more playing basketball than she could ever dream of making in music. Teyana claims Iman would grow annoyed when they would attend public events together, and photographers would ask for him to step out of the frame. She says when Iman signed a $14 million contract with the NBA Cleveland Cavaliers in 2015, the same year he was also paid $8 million by the New York Knicks, he remained aggravated by her notoriety, jealous of her acting career, and insecure about being her man. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Teyana wanted to keep this private as long as possible, initially choosing to file with their initials. However, Iman's recent filing in the divorce proceedings included full names, thus thrusting everything into the spotlight. By the way, he actually intentionally filed a motion via his lawyer to ensure that their government names would be replaced with the initials in the original documents that Teyana had already filed. So it's not like it's an oversight or this was done by way of maybe miscommunication or a lack of understanding in what they arranged. This is him just being unintentionally petty and cruel because he's only doing this to embarrass her, because he knows how much she doesn't want this public, because he has no benefit in releasing this to the media. None whatsoever. It's not like it makes him look good, it makes him look bad and her look like a victim. So you can tell this decision was purely made out of anger and spite. But anyway, let's move on. Back to 2015, Teyana claims that's when Iman started sending her negative text messages with condescending and manipulative language in response to her being in the spotlight. She claims he would pick fights with her for no reason, even on her birthday, and then apologize. Like, that is a psycho, in my opinion. Like, you've got to really, at this point, hate me almost for you to not want me happy on my birthday. Like, Jesus. In the docs which Teyana filed in Georgia, she says she now feels Iman was treating her cruelly and displaying extreme narcissistic behavior throughout the majority of their marriage. She says she began to intentionally dim her light for her husband to try to have a harmonious and peaceful marriage as Iman became more and more angry about her stardom. What's more, Teyana said she turned down recording opportunities and acting gigs because Iman did not want her to work. But she says when she stopped working after giving birth to one of their kids, Iman complained about her not making money. Like, nigga, which is it? Do you want her to work or do you not? Like, are you insane? Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Teyana says she fought to keep their family together despite Iman being extremely emotionally and mentally abusive towards her. She says she used her connections to get Iman gigs in Hollywood as his NBA career wound down, but says he unfortunately insisted on bickering to the point where, in 2021, she began the divorce process. So she was basically at the end of her tether at that point because she's like, I'm trying to help you become a star in your own right since you're so salty about me being one, but all you want to do is fight. I'm done. Like, I'm done with you. She says they reconciled, but it was short-lived because Iman remained in an insecure state as his NBA career continued to wind down. In the docs, Teyana says in 2022, she found herself being manipulated and controlled by Iman and filed for divorce, only to ask her legal team to withdraw the filing one day later. Teyana says she finally pulled the trigger in January because she was unable to handle the emotional roller coaster. So clearly, she already made the move in 2022. He probably did all that begging and like, I'm sorry, I can't live without you. I'll be better, I'll change, we'll work things out, and didn't end up going that way. So yeah, she had to file again this year. She claims Iman had been involved in multiple cheating scandals during their marriage and cites his DUI arrest and recalls the time in 2022 when he was arrested for weed possession in an airport. Teyana also alleges Iman once crashed her Rolls Royce and fled the scene to avoid a second DUI arrest. In my car, like, imagine. Teyana says she tried to stay with Iman through thick and thin, but says he reacted with further cruel treatment and selfishness. After she secretly filed for divorce, she says Iman insisted on them getting back together only to be lackadaisical and inconsistent and become involved in another cheating scandal. See what I said? which she says was embarrassing and humiliating. As we reported, Teyana announced their separation in September and said, "To be 1000% clear, infidelity ain't one of the reasons for our departure." Now, she says she was just being graceful towards him. That's the one part I don't really understand from Teyana's perspective, but we'll get into my opinion once we get to the end of the article. Teyana says Iman left their family home in October and hasn't spent significant time with their 2 children since then. Isn't that always the way? I just think it's so crazy how men are so happy to play the loving black family household when they're with their wife or the mother of their child. But as soon as you're single and you're no longer living in the household with them, all of a sudden your children are not your responsibility anymore. Like, it's just crazy. She's asking for temporary and permanent primary physical custody plus joint legal custody and child support. I do wonder why she's specifically asking for custody. I don't blame her at all, because in my opinion, from what she's described, and I believe every word, I would definitely say she's the parent that is better to be around. However, I don't think that those are the reasons that she's asking for primary custody. Just reading between the lines of what her story is, I feel like she would look at that, as horrible as he treated her, I think she'd look at that as, this is our relationship, our marriage. It doesn't have anything to do with him having the kids. You know, there's nothing really that we've read that indicates he's going to be a bad father. Essentially what I'm trying to say is I feel like there's a little bit more to it and what he's done in their household, why she would feel like it's not in the children's best interest to have joint custody. I don't think he's been abusive to the children or anything, but I feel like there could be a chance that she's sugarcoating the abuse towards her, which is why she might feel more comfortable with primary custody. Or not, maybe it could be something much lighter. Maybe it's more to do with his lifestyle when he's single and who he's around, etc, etc. Maybe it's more to do with that, and she'd just rather her kids not really be around that, especially if he's not being the most responsible father right now. Could be that. One or the other is my theory. Anyway, just to finish off, now she says their marriage is irretrievably broken, which seems painfully obvious based on the litany of issues between them, at least in her eyes. Now, this is very sad. Teyana and Iman are a black couple that a lot of people in the community looked at as couple goals because of just how beautiful of a couple they were and their beautiful family, like their children. They're both very attractive. Like, they just look like the whole package, you know? So they were right up there almost with Jada and Will and B and J. God, look at the state of these couple goals relationships now. I mean, B and J are still together, but we haven't looked at them as couple goals since the whole Becky with the good hair debacle. Or low-key when Solange beat his ass in the elevator. But anyway, as much as this was sad to read, it wasn't surprising to me. Obviously, their separation was announced a couple months ago because the streets caught Iman with some girl on an Instagram story, and then all the blogs posted it, and then Teyana had to come forward with that statement that TMZ mentioned in that article where she said that infidelity is not one of the reasons for their departure. I knew then that it was cap. People have been saying that Iman has been cheating on Teyana for years. Like, this is not a secret. You know, people have been speculating on whether or not her having threesomes with him was an attempt to try to get him to stop cheating because women be doing that. I really don't think that was the case in Teyana's case, though. I think that Teyana loves women. Like, she's made that clear. I think she's bisexual and she was having a lot of fun herself. So I don't think that part's true. But I definitely think that he has been hoeing for some time, and it got to the point where she was just tired. And I just think it's interesting because when that blind item came out in 2021, I knew then that it was true. Even though we hadn't heard anything about Teyana taking drugs or anything like that. If you guys didn't see it, it was basically this TikToker who people send her and like DM her stories of their experiences with celebrities. She probably does something on her end to make sure it's a legit story, but essentially she reenacted silently this story about a big R&B singer who was with I don't know if she called him a basketball player. I think she said that he was on Dancing with the Stars or whatever show he was doing at the time. And they also had a picture of Teyana and Iman's dining room in the background. And if you know their house, you know that dining room. It's like, the way it's designed is like out of a storybook, like a black and white sketch styled kind of design. I can't really explain it, but I'll put a picture. And essentially the story was that she just kind of went off about how she was tired of him cheating on her, and then she overdosed on candy, which is obviously pills or cocaine, something like that. And she essentially had an overdose and had to be hospitalized, and she was supposed to be on tour and they had to cancel because she was in hospital. They had receipts of her at the hospital and everything. And Teyana was insisting it was all lies. Like, how could you guys believe this woman? And I think she said that it was exhaustion or something like that. That was the real reason for her hospitalization. And I do understand that sometimes it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing when celebrities respond to bullshit or the truth. But there was just something about how emotional she was when she responded, and just the way she was talking that made me feel like, Yeah, I think it's true. Like, I couldn't really put my finger on it, because even though I spoke about it on my show, I did think afterwards, I guess she would probably still respond in a similar way, even if it was lies. But I don't know, just how impassioned she was, I feel like if you knew it was a lie and it was just out of nowhere, you would more kind of laugh it off and be like, you know, we suing. Like, kind of like how Jada was, you know? But the way she was so angry and upset made me feel like you're upset because somebody has told the truth about something that happened to you. And I also think it wasn't far-fetched of a story either. Like, one could definitely believe that her man cheating on her consistently so often and her just having to grin and bear it and act like this perfect happy family, that would stress you the fuck out. Like, that would make you maybe pop a few too many pills one day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just didn't sound like a crazy story either. So now that we're seeing all of this come out, it's kind of looking like, yeah, that blind item most likely was the absolute truth. But with regards to him being insecure and salty about her being in the spotlight, despite the fact that he was making meals upon meals upon meals during this time, can somebody please explain to me how you could have that much money but be so salty at the fact that you are not the biggest star in your relationship? Like, I really just don't get that. You have your own version of fame and stardom. It's just different when you compare it to an R&B singer. When you are well known for playing a sport really well, it's really just gonna be basketball fans, in his case, that really know you and really care about you like that. Obviously, Iman Shumpert is a big basketball player and he clearly makes a lot of money, but I didn't know who that nigga was until he was with Teyana Taylor, and I'm sure a lot of people can say the same. So you weren't really on the map like that until you were attached to Teyana. That has always been the case. You knew that she was a singer and an actress when you met her, so you knew her level of stardom and fame was going to be a little bit different. At the end of the day, she's been on TV since she was a teenager. Even from My Sweet 16 days, people knew who she was. She's been making music for years. She's been in big movies. Like, it's just a different level of attention. So I would think that you would have been prepared from ages ago to be moving out of the way on red carpets when people want to take her picture. That's so crazy to me that he was that insecure about it that late in their relationship. Like, I'm so surprised he wasn't used to it. Furthermore, why do you even want attention that badly? Why do you care? I just can't imagine having made almost 50 M's in 1 year and be mad because more people want to take my nigga's picture than me. And I'm the woman, do you know what I mean? So you would think the woman would be the one in the relationship that's a little bit salty about not getting the attention. Like, I just find it very crazy that a man worth that much money is that bothered. And it's just so ironic as well, because if you're a fan of Teyana Taylor, you know that one of her major qualms about her experiences in the music industry is that she feels underappreciated. She feels like she could have done much more and gone further as an artist than she has done. Which is, well, it looked like that was partly why she took a step back and decided to stop doing music in that capacity, and is now going in a little bit of a different direction, helping the girls with their stage presence and their choreography and, you know, being more of a director to other artists. But now I'm thinking, was that because she wanted to take a step back so that Iman could get out of his feelings? Like, that is just so insane to me. And then on top of that, you ask her to stop working, and then when she stops working, you complain that she's not making enough money. Like, what do you want from her? Like, what do you actually want? I feel so bad for Teyana, because could you imagine living with that? Like, what a headache. Like, mental and emotional abuse is right. Because from when I literally have to dim my light so that you feel secure within yourself, that is crazy. And I would love to know why he felt that way. I can only assume that it's because Iman wanted to be a rapper, because at one point I know he wanted to release a rap album and have some other basketball player like executive produce it. I don't know, I don't think it was LeBron, it was some other guy. But I don't know if this has something to do with why he was so jealous of his wife, but like, that's just the territory, that's how it goes. Like, when people know you already for having a talent in one thing, they don't really want to see you do other things unless you're like a rapper or a singer that starts acting. People are a little bit more comfortable with that type of shift. But a lot of the time when basketball players try and get in the booth, they're like, yeah, we're not trying to hear all of that. Like, it just is what it is. That's not what people know you for. That's not what they gravitate towards you for. It's so interesting though, because reading this story made me think about Monique from Real Housewives of Potomac. And I remember when she and Chris were having issues on the show, I remember she would say that athletes are really spoiled. And Chris would even agree with her and be like, yeah, like, athletes are used to a certain level of treatment while they're playing. Obviously, Chris was a football player. But, you know, he was quite well known as far as I know. He clearly made a lot of money for them to have 4 homes. So he was a big deal. So I remember whenever Monique would say that, I would just think about it like, that's really interesting. So essentially she was alluding to the fact that once they're not playing anymore and they're at home, they got to do daddy duties, like they're essentially just thrust into a normal life after being this big athlete, this star that all the women like are lusting after them, like all the photographers are taking their picture all the time. Like athletes are a big deal, like in America, they're really celebrated. I mean, they are here as well, but I feel like in America it's like a different level. And I feel like it might be a similar case here, even though Iman is still playing as far as I know. But I feel like he probably wasn't quite prepared to have his light dimmed as a result of his wife being this major star. I think that he wasn't very realistic entering into this relationship, and he maybe thought he was more of a secure person than he really was, because I, for the life of me, don't understand why you would get married to somebody like Teyana Taylor if you're not prepared to play that position in your relationship. That seems very stupid to me. Why don't you marry a woman who nobody knows then, if you're that insecure? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Teyana Taylor also made a statement via her lawyer after Iman's motion was filed to release their government names in the divorce proceedings, and she was basically like, to this day, she's still trying to defend that man, even though he's treated her as badly as he has, cheated on her, and basically just sucked out all of her energy. She's still defending him because she's not cussing him out online like she probably wants to, because she was trying so hard to keep this divorce private by releasing it with their initials, and she had done, because I think it was filed in January, so it's been the better part of a year that they've been going through this without the public knowing. And for him to just do that just to be petty boots, it's just like, wow, like that would be enough for her to just completely go in the other direction, be like, you know what, since this is what we're doing, cool, and just air him out. And she's still not doing that. She's just addressing more the public and saying it's a shame that people have zeroed in on this and taken it to the blogs and the media, etc, etc. And you know, Miss Teyana Taylor tried so hard to keep this away from the public for the sake of her family, and basically just one last plea to her fans and the public to be like, if you guys are really a fan of me and you love my daughter, all of that, please just don't do the most, essentially. But it's just a hard one, because I know that people always address the media and the blogs for making this shit public, etc, etc. And I know it's easy for me to say from here at my house in England, like, oh, it's just kind of what you get with this game, da da da, because they're humans at the end of the day. Of course you're going to do what you can to protect yourself and your family. It's natural that you don't want this all out there while you're still processing it. But I feel like sometimes it's misdirected when people blame the blogs and the media, etc. Because while I do agree that it would be preferable that details like this, and same with Keke Palmer's case as well, like I would not do well with that information being made public knowledge, but at the same time we should kind of know that that's just how it goes by now. Like, unfortunately, these documents are public information, so media can easily access it, and if it weren't the blogs, it would be someone else. I don't know if it's just because I'm from the UK, and for a long time, like News of the World, like the media was so thirsty and savage, like Princess Diana days, like, so maybe I'm not desensitized, but maybe I'm just a little bit used to the media doing the most and overstepping boundaries to get great news, to get circulation, and to get clicks and likes. And you know, it's a business on their end at the end of the day. If you're a big celebrity and your shit is out there, they're going to get their hands on it, unfortunately. It's just the way it goes. So I feel like it's kind of a waste of time, almost getting mad at the blogs and getting mad at the media sites, because they're going to do what they're going to do. I feel like all that energy should be directed towards Iman, because he's the one that made it this way. Teyana did everything she could to make it private. I actually didn't know you were able to do that, and good for her for trying her hardest to make sure that it was kept away from our eyes. But if I were her, all I'd want to do is pull up at Iman's house. I can't lie. Like, that would make me so angry, and I wouldn't really waste my time going at the fans or the people that are just going to comment on what they see, or the blogs and the media, because at the end of the day, I expect them to do that shit. What I don't expect is for my husband, even though we're getting a divorce, the fact that we still have children together, at least give me that respect. And we should have a common interest in this area, that we both don't want this made public for the sake of our family and our children. So that would be who I'm taking out all my energy on, because as far as I'm concerned, that's all his fault. Like, after everything he's done since 2015 alone to her, like, have you not done enough to that lady? Like, seriously, you want to do this too? That's fucked up, in my opinion. And he hasn't even really said anything. He's just released that Joe Budden photo of him in the pool on his phone, whatever the fuck that's meant to mean. I don't even know what his side of the story is, but to me, if this all goes out to the public and you don't say anything to defend yourself, it's given, yeah, you can't really defend yourself because it's all true. And you can tell he did it out of anger and spite, because it doesn't even make any sense that you want us to know this. It makes you look like a terrorist. Like, Imagine beefing your wife on her birthday. There is something wrong with you that you can't allow me to have happiness on my motherfucking birthday. Anyway, I'm glad that Teyana is getting away from that man, because that's scary hours, I can't lie. And as much as she did not want this made public, I'm not gonna lie, after seeing this, and then obviously on the back of everything with Cassie and Diddy, with Keke Palmer as well, I know they're all three very different cases, but the common word in all of them is abuse. And I think for the longest time, women, and particularly black women, have felt like it's a normalized thing for us to just take abuse in whatever shape or form it comes in. And kind of in Teyana's case, like, she was doing dim her light to make her man feel secure in himself and make him shine brighter, or feel like he was shining brighter. Same with Keke, like, trying to make things better with her baby father, even though he was beating her and abusing her so early on in pregnancy and when their child was an infant. Like, there's such big things to want to leave somebody, but you're still trying to appease that person. You're still trying to kind of alter your behavior to try and make sure that they don't react too much. Like, you're doing all of these things to change yourself, knowing that you are a victim in a situation that you should not be in. And I feel like a lot of black women have felt like this is just kind of their cross to bear. In Cassie's case, however, the things that Diddy put her through and did to her are so horrific that that goes beyond the average abusive relationship, to be honest. If you read the lawsuit, you know. However, the fact that she was brave enough to speak up about this and to file that suit and make it all public, I think also sets a big precedence for women who have gone through something very similar at the hands of someone very powerful, who they feel like they can never in any way speak up about them because look how big of a giant this person is. Like Diddy, like, that is going to make a lot of people think, shit, maybe I can speak up about my experience with so-and-so. So I personally, I'm very happy to see some of these cases being brought to light and start to kind of poke holes at that narrative that we kind of have to just put up with abuse because it's no big deal, or it's just something we have to deal with, you know? Because women will see that and start to change their mindset. Not all women, unfortunately, but I do think there is something in seeing influential black women that we've been watching for our whole childhood make these kind of decisions. So yeah, I'm happy about that. The thought that it might do some good in that sense makes me happy. But I am really feeling it for Teyana, and I do hope the rest of this divorce process is much smoother than it has been recently. But yeah, Iman, scary, scary man.